there and welcome to Travels with Geordie. If this is your first visit, my name is Peter Knowles and I live on this classic wooden motor cruiser currently here in Smuggler Cove on the Sunshine Coast of British Columbia, along with the loving memory of my pup Geordie, all the while fixing up for some pretty ambitious cruising. If that's the sort of thing you might find interesting, please consider sticking around and subscribing. I'd love to have you. This has been a busy couple of weeks. Of course, we had a little bit of a cruise with Lloyd and he's head off on his adventure. Last week I had Lady Zephyrus aboard and we did some fantastic cruising, and special guest for this week, my daughter Kaylin has come out to join me.
Hello.
Hi Kay. Which I'm so thrilled about, and we're going to have a heck of a lot of fun. But as usual, we got to jump back in time just a little bit to how we got to here. Okay then. Now that I'm on a dock, I can get a good look at the way this looks up against the new cabin sides. And what's interesting about it is that the camber of the bottom of the deck is actually, or the aft cabin is actually significantly different than the other side, but that's okay. The other thing that happens is that I'm just barely missing my notch here, but that's okay too. We can make a small variation for that. Point is, this is roughly going to be the shape of the extension of the main house, so I can draw that onto the cabin sides and then get going with designing how the actual windows are going to be laid out. There we go, and with a little body English on the pencil, I was able to clear this. I'll give you a close-up. So we just lined it up just high enough to get above that point. Very good. So now I'm going to take this down and draw the side onto here. Okay, so here I have the curve pretty much planned for the cutout for the extension of the forward cabin. Now I want to lay out the curve of the bottom of the future window glass. And I want it to be sort of sympathetic to this. Everything curves down and gets closer together in the stern of the boat, so it'll probably go about from here and then closer and closer, somewhere there, and then wrap up into there, something like that. But perhaps before trying to establish the more complex lower curve here, I'll work on the leading edge, because that is pretty much a given. I've established that this original cut is indeed in exactly the right place, so I don't need to adjust it. So now I just need to establish a line offset from that where these curves are going to spring from. And if I take a 2-inch straight edge, I think that's a bit too thin. Like, that's taking out too much meat. So if I take a couple of little 3/4 inch blocks of mahogany, I think that puts me in sort of a nice remaining piece of wood there. I like that. I like that. So let's mark that off. Excellent. And then using my standard selection of circle templates, I think probably this smallest one is my best bet. Oh yeah. Just perfect. Love it. Love it. So there's that. I like that. Oh, I like that. I like that. Okay. So, and then down here, I want to come pretty high on this because I want to have a relatively, if I just turn you, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. I want a fairly good chunk of mahogany visible. I don't want it all window. So I'm going to land as high on here really as I practically can. And perhaps that's this, or actually possibly even this, because I got to clear that point. Maybe only here. Yeah, that'll be good. Okay, so if we just clear that and I come on this mark here and I overshoot a bit, and somewhere springing off of here is going to be the big long arc. Okay, I've developed the leading edge curves. Now I've got to figure out where this curve is going to come in so that I can get this long curve onto here. And drawing on my template collection here, if I place this at the spring point there, I'm not quite sure I'm thrilled with that, but there's a couple of ways I can deal with this. I like this much back here. I think I may redraw this one up here even tighter to my control point here, so that I can raise that, a good 3/4 an inch or so. And then I can come right off that, a little more wood up here, and that perfect curve. Okay, let's try. And if we leverage this existing curve, which I actually quite like, lock that in there, lock that in down here. I like it. I am sure you folks cannot see this very well with this pencil on this little bit mottled wood, but I think that is actually a very nice shape. I'm tempted to redraw it with a marker so I can get a clearer idea of it before I put the saw to it. And then just to really cinch everything up, I'm going to redraw this one as well. I'm wasting too much wood up in here. I want this curve to start higher. And to start higher, it means this line has to go forward a little bit, or I have to go to a tighter radius. I'm going to play with both of those. I'm happy. Pub. This barn was a gift to me from Lady Zephyrus some years ago, and I don't play it nearly enough. Hardly ever, in fact. That will be indicated quite clearly in the next few moments. Golden hour, back on my favorite spot in Prieto Haven. You know, it's funny. This place gets a lot of flack for being kind of overrun, but it also has something special about it. What's so funny, Lady Zephyrus? Alright, so I did this layout on the side of the window in the Marina in Land Harbor, and I would have loved to have cut it out there, but you really can't run a jigsaw in Land Harbor. So currently back up in Walsh Cove, and this is an ideal place to do it because during the day there's only about 2 boats in here, so this will be just fine. But I never really got certain that I'm happy with this curve. So I've marked the curve on here, and I still have the template that I marked it with, so I'm going to mock it all up on the side and go for a dinghy ride around the boat, and you're going to come with, and we'll see how it good looks. Okay, then how does that look? Looking at it through the GoPro, it's a little extreme. Let me back off a little bit. Hi, Lady Zephyrus. I think that looks just about perfect, actually. Dang it. It's gonna be great. 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 Quick swim and I moved to a different part of the bay. Actually, my very favorite chain in my very favorite spot. I'm sure you're tired of hearing me say this, but it's the contrast of the foreground trees and the mountains beyond, and I just love it. Okay, so let's do some cutting. It's nice and quiet in here now. The only other motorboat nearby is running his engine, so he won't mind at all. Now this cut I can do with the circular saw. And here we go. Pretty impressive. Okay, I gotta tell you, I am chickening out on this big arc. It just seems so big now. So I brought back my template supply, and maybe there. Maybe there. There's still a curve in this, not nearly as much. Oh gosh, I don't know. Maybe further back. I'm gonna think about this for just a bit. This is that. Oh yeah, that's too small. You know, I am much more comfortable with that. This was just, oh yeah, okay. Okay, let's see how these ones go. All right then, so to start to sand some of this, I'm going to use a poor man's spindle sander, which is basically a hole saw, and a little bit of the standard glue-on sandpaper that's used for the small sanding blocks. And the trick is getting the backing paper off. There we go. And roll this on in the direction of rotation. Okay.
Oh my gosh, I am so glad I opted for the smaller arc at the aft end. It's a bit confused there with the other line there still, but I am really pleased with that. And then the lower arc, the arc of the extension of the cabin top, is just perfect. I can tell you, I have been extremely stressed about making these cuts, and I'm pleased, very pleased. Okay. Honestly, I just want to go for another swim. And from this side, yes.
Okay, so the wind has dropped enough you might actually be able to hear me now. So it's time to start routing, and what that's going to be, if I just bring this up into your field of view, on the inside edge of these windows is going to be a roundover, a 1/4 inch roundover, and on the outside is going to go a dado for the glass to sit in, and then there'll be a trim piece over that. So I'm going to start with the roundover, because that should be the easiest of the two, and of course these will go in all the windows. We'll do the two side pieces as well as the front piece. So as long as this goes smoothly, I'll be happy. So to set up a roundover bit, because this is precarious and I'm going to be cutting these corners across end grain as well, I'm going to take very tiny bites. So if you can see, I can adjust the depth and at a certain point it'll get to the point where the shoulder pops through, and I do not want that to happen because it'll put a shoulder on the round over. So basically I'm going to take successive cuts to the point where I can just do a test piece on some stock and make sure that I'm getting a perfect round over. So let's start way up here somewhere. Yeah. All right, it's doing a lovely, lovely, lovely job. Go a little deeper. And now we can set up probably for the final pass. And I'm glad I did, and I'll show you why. Can you see the shoulder cut on that? Right in there. So I have the bit set too deep. Perfect. Oh, so buttery smooth. So beautiful. Very, very nice. Very, very, very nice. For the front windows, I actually made the cut in one pass because there's no end grain concerns here. Anyway, that's that done. The other side is a little more significant. So the other side is the rabbet for the glass, a little more complicated. I have a brand new rabbeting bit from Lee Valley, and this comes with, oh, I can't put that down anymore. Oh, I can put it there. Several components, none of which I want to drop off the side and into the ocean. Basically it works by having several bearings on the bit. So if we, ow, that's sharp right through that package. There we go. Okay, oh, it's covered with all that lovely waxy goo. This is gonna have to go in my pocket. Well, let me first remove the waxy goo, which I always enjoy tremendously. Oh yeah. Okay, so the bearing it comes set up with is set up for roughly a 7/16 rabbet, which is much deeper than I want for the glass. I want something closer to 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to change the bearing. And that is indeed a slightly strong 1/4. This is probably metric. Uh-oh. I think I have a 1/2 inch collet for this router. I hope I do. All right, well, I learned something that I should have known all along. These little trim routers don't come with a 1/2 inch collet. The shaft won't accept a 1/2 inch shaft. Okay, I'm gonna have to route this with the big router. No fun. Which means I'm not gonna do it anytime soon because it's currently bolted into my router table. So instead, I'll finish the sanding of these and get them ready for some oil. Doesn't that look nice? Now don't worry at all about the lost hairs in there. This is just an oil coat. For those of you who aren't familiar, everything I make, the first coat that goes on it is tung oil, pure tung oil. And I just love the way it builds the depth and color of it. And I'm gonna let this soak in for a bit, and then I'm gonna rub it off. And when I rub it off, I'll rub off all the loose hairs, but I'll also rub off any sawdust that happen to be still on the surface with a cloth. So works out really well. Fast, easy, very effective. Subsequent coats, of course, are varnish. All right then, it's looking pretty good.
love it. I love it. I love it. Gosh, there's so much yet to do. Well, we're back at Castle Falls, up at the top of Teaker and Arm. And I think we're just about to head off for a walk up to the lake and have a swim.
It was wonderful to have Lady Zephyrus come and join me for a week's cruise in desolation. We had a really, really lovely time. Some of it, of course, filled with sanding and cutting. So that all happened because she was kind enough to drive while I was doing that work. And not only that, shoot almost all the B-roll for this episode because somehow I just had woodwork on my mind. Thanks, Lady T.
Well, welcome to the Travels with Geordie Beer of the Week. Back in Vancouver, and most importantly, back with my darling daughter, Caitlin, who has been with me for a couple of days now.
Yeah.
And we'll have a couple more days together.
Exactly.
Right, and it gets even better because who's coming tomorrow?
My boyfriend David.
Who I adore.
That's good.
Love you, David. Okay, so let's get right to the beer, shall we? What have you for us today, Caitlin?
Alrighty, we have Life and Liberty Pale Ale, well balanced, West Coast style pale ale, but from Twa Dogs.
Twa Dogs.
Twa Dogs.
Can you show it to the people at home?
Yes, here you go.
There you
Twa
go.
Dogs, in case you're interested.
For all the stuff on
You
that.
know,
Screen capture and read all that.
Unfiltered and easy to drink. The flavors of malt and hops are well balanced. There
Well
you go.
balanced.
Yeah.
All right. Good enough. Are you pouring?
Sure.
Excellent,
Here we go.
because I sometimes destroy the pour and get a lot of grief for it.
So if I destroy the pour, you're just like, oh, Caitlin messed up.
Exactly.
That's okay.
And what's really neat about these glasses?
Yes.
One of those tall cans exactly fills 2 of these glasses right to there.
Wow, it's almost like that was designed for it.
You'd think so, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't, what? Yeah.
I didn't what?
No, you did perfect.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me.
I thought some criticism was
No.
coming.
What, father criticism?
Never.
So tell us about our day, Kate.
Oh
How
gosh,
was
it was
today?
quite the adventure.
Where did
I
we
must
start?
Say. We started in Smugglers.
Smuggler Cove.
Exactly. And then we made it all the way down to Vancouver. With a lot of
Fun
along the way.
Fun along the way.
Cheers. It's fun.
That is fun.
That
is
is nice.
awesome.
I
It's
love
like
it,
a hazy but not being hazy.
That is what I was going to say.
I stole the words right out of your mouth.
Gosh, look at
Sorry
that.
about that. That's
No,
an excellent beer.
That is an excellent beer. Yeah.
That's very nice to know.
Sweet.
Well, yes, let's jump straight into the important stuff, shall we? Slightly less important than you.
I was going to say.
I know, exactly. Last week's winner of the Word of the Week is Jim Mark Walder. Jim Mark Walder.
Congratulations, Jim.
Get a hold of me and we'll send you off your Travels with Geordie t-shirt. I'd also like to thank 2 new Patreons who came aboard in the last week, Chuck White and Frank Moore. Thanks ever so much for coming aboard. Cheers.
Cheers.
So today was a bit wild.
It was a bit wild. Gosh.
Forecast said a little wind out of the north, which would have been behind us, would have been fine.
Forecast said so many different things.
It's so many different things. Well, it blew stink from the south. We pounded into big waves.
Big waves.
Yeah. And
Biggest you've seen, right?
Biggest I've actually seen. I think I could comfortably say we were in 3 and 4 foot swells. Only because it's the first time MV Geordie has actually had green water on the windshield. Serious water over the foredeck onto the windshield was a little bit scary. Now, it should be noted, and I think I might have said it in the clip, and I don't know if you've already watched it. You mustn't cruise based on schedule. You cruise based on the weather and tide. So it wasn't urgent that we get down here to Vancouver to meet David tomorrow. But it was convenient. Enough said.
Convenient.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, we're here and we're off to the pub, but not before we give you a Travels with Geordie Word of the Week.
Which I think quite suiting is adventure.
Adventure. Perfect. I love it. Absolutely love it. Adventure.
Cheers.
Travels with Geordie Word of the Week. You know what to do with it. See you next week.
To adventure.
That's all.
All right.